Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Spotlight on Security Tech Insights. Today, we are going to be diving into a topic that revolves around starting with cyber resilience, but really thinking about the fact that cyber resilience, especially in the cloud, goes beyond backup. We're going to talk about how organizations can leverage shared responsibility to strengthen their protection, enforce permissions, and be recovery ready. We're going to also talk about how you can combine native tools with other third-party solutions to make sure that you're delivering stronger and faster recovery. My name is Theresa Miller. I am the Senior Director of Technical Marketing here at Cohesity, and I have a very special guest with me today. AJ, can you introduce yourself?
Thanks for having me, Theresa. This is AJ or Ajay Kota. I'm a partner solutions architect at AWS, and I work with our ISV partners. And I've been engaged with the storage and infrastructure community for about 20 plus years, helping and guiding storage architecture decisions, discussions, and responsible for even building managed service solutions around data protection and recovery. And I'm very excited to be here to discuss the topic today.
I'm really excited you're here as well. And we have so much to talk about with this topic. And you being from AWS, I know as we work through the conversation today, there's some great collaborations we'll get to as well. But no spoilers. Let's get into just some of the practicalities and education. So, what are the most common challenges, AJ, that organizations are facing when it comes to achieving comprehensive cyber resilience in the cloud? And what are you hearing from AWS customers?
Yeah, as you know, Amazon Web Services is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adapted cloud platform. So organizations are increasingly opting for the cloud-based services to accelerate the adoption of new technologies and as well as enhance their security postures, scalability, and employee productivity. So customers tell us that they want to build and innovate with confidence, and they want to know that as they build, they're protected across all layers of their stack and all threat surfaces. And they want to have they want to build all of this with resilience in place to weather any unpredicted events. However, they're also showing that it's challenging to ensure uninterrupted business operations and implement effective disaster recovery strategies that aligns with business goals and objectives. This complexity increases when managing things like data sovereignty and to have to deal with data sovereignty issues, establishing robust governance frameworks, and also ensuring regulatory compliance across different regions and different industry standards that they have to meet and comply with. And frequently, they encounter some of these challenges like misconfigurations and resource exposure in their environments, as well as, I think, vulnerability management gaps that they may have to make sure that they have to maintain comprehensive visibility and also make sure that they are patching across different environments. They also see challenges in implementing IAM roles and responsibilities to make sure that there is a least privilege access that is given to the services, or they're providing it to their users, as well as managing permissions at a scale. Other few things are like insufficient instant response preparedness, as well as when the environments grow, when the companies become big, they will have multiple accounts that they have to deal with. And one other major one, which organizations see as a challenge these days, are ransomware and advanced threat preparedness. which is actually protecting against sophisticated bad actors and how to come out of evolving cyber events that they are seeing.
There's a lot to unpack there. So when I think about being a customer that's managing an enterprise that has workloads in the cloud, I mean, you listed about 6 different things that need to really be focused on and looked at to ensure that an environment is hardened well enough to be protected. And I think all of those things also add up to um, being able to get back online quickly. So one, let's keep the bad actors out, but then, if you have the right level of security in place, I think that adds up to a recovery that is ultimately guaranteed, especially when I think about like the ransomware threats. If you were to have a threat impact your data, um, I think that creates some unknowns. So let's keep them out. Let's keep the bad actors away.
Agreed.
So let's pivot to the next question. So, how does shared responsibility and the shared responsibility model specifically shape the way for enterprises to approach data protection and compliance in a multi cloud environment?
Good question. So at AWS, security is job zero. It's very important for us when we deal with when we work on security and security of data. And AWS shared responsibility model fundamentally shapes how enterprises approach data protection and compliance in the cloud environments by establishing a clear boundaries. So this model divides responsibility into two main key areas. One is security of the cloud, which is completely managed by AWS in terms of AWS manages underlying infrastructure, including physical security, network components, hypervisors, and data center operations. What customers are responsible for? The question is security in the cloud. Customers are responsible for their data, applications, access, management, encryption, as well as compliance configurations. So although the infrastructure part is taken care by AWS, customers are still responsible for the data. So that's how the shared responsibility model shapes the modern data approach and compliance in the cloud environments. And as we talked about few challenges that we saw, we discussed about earlier, right? How can customers ensure the security, right? In their environments, there could be right set of permissions, using the right set of permissions, and making sure, as you said, locking down their system by implementing least privilege access controls and properly configured secure settings in their security. And having when it comes to ransomware, we discussed about how do they actually not just implement the required security controls, but when it comes to data, they need to protect the data and also able to recover when a ransomware event happens or occurs. So the one of the things is to have multiple copies of the data, maintain redundant backups across different locations, different geographical locations, and also have the controls to make sure that the backup copies are protected, and also use framework-based approach, adopt security frameworks and well-established security frameworks and compliance standards, and use infrastructure as a code as much as possible. Use code-based infrastructure management for consistency and auditability to make sure that while building the infrastructure, while building the applications, they already are following a standard, and which is a repetitive standard. And another thing is to make sure to have automation and monitoring, deploy automated security controls, and make sure that continuous monitoring to detect and respond to any events is available part of the environment to make sure that the security in the cloud aspects of it is actually taken care of.
There's a lot, again, there's, several different things. I think what really stood out for me and what you shared, AJ, I mean, it's all amazing, but the customer is responsible for their data. So, and I know in terms of like native tooling, which we'll dive into a little bit further, I think AWS offers some protections there, but if we go back to a point you just made on the multiple copies of data, where enterprises may need to take advantage of the 3211 rule, that's ultimately ensuring that it's a guideline or a framework that enterprises can adhere to make sure they have enough copies of data should something happen. So I think there were several things, of course, but it all goes back to you as a customer are responsible for your data, but you can help. So let's pivot to the next question, where we unpack that a little bit more, where we talk about like what a native cloud tool can do versus like third party. So can you explain how combining native tooling and third-party backup solutions do enhance resilience compared to just relying on one or the other?
So AWS, as you mentioned, provides a lot of native tools to secure and protect the data. So combining AWS native tools with third-party solutions create a much more robust a resilient strategy than just relying on one approach or the other. The hybrid approach provides a comprehensive protection map as well as strengthens the compliance. So AWS native tools provide an integration. When a customer is using the AWS native tools, it provides deep integration or the easy integration available with the different services, infrastructure, and customers can easily protect or recover quickly. As an example, customers can actually use EBS snapshots to protect the block volumes, block storage associated with the EC2 virtual machines, and then they can quickly recover it using snapshots. And with native capabilities like S3 versioning, they can protect the objects or the data that they are storing in S3 storage service. These kind of services and tools allow easy automation. As I said, I think they can actually define these policies at the organization level, as well as I think they can streamline the whole operational management across the environment. So how does the third-party solutions come into picture? So third-party backup solutions or solutions complement native tools by providing off-service or air-gapped copies for additional isolation. So like as I said, EBS snapshots is a service-based snapshot. So the third-party solutions can be used to move a data copy to a different location. It's not within the service control. Also, these third-party solutions provides advanced threat detection and forensic analysis capabilities, as well as I said, recovery is very important. Like when we are talking about ransomware, recovery of the data is going to be the key once the data is protected. So these kind of tools have the capability of intelligently recovering data with for complex scenarios as well as granular recovery capabilities. And also customers have their data across everywhere. It could be hybrid, or it could be their data stored in on-premises as well as AWS cloud. These solutions can actually help to expand the capabilities or have the similar capabilities everywhere. And organizations can achieve optimal resilience by combination of these native tools that I talked about. And some of these can be used for foundational data protection and leverage other solutions to make sure that all the scenarios, all the threat scenarios are covered, and these combination delivers a very good operation efficiency in terms of making sure that the native integration capabilities are used, as well as I think it enhances the overall security posture.
Yeah. So in my experiences with the native and the third party solutions, I always say you need both. It's not one or the other. A lot of the time, I do find that a certain level of you can get to a certain point with what like AWS will offer. But with third party, even one other standout point that I'd like to call out, I think like the RTOs and RPOs can be a little bit more fine tuned with a third party. So I think there's always reason to do both, and I think we're going to cover that even further in the next question. But before we get to the next question, I just wanted to share a story with the audience. So I worked in an enterprise that had cloud as well as the traditional on-prem, and one of the users didn't actually follow through and get their machine backed up, and they had a corruption issue. And so the corruption issue took out the machine and nobody could get it back. So I paused to call that out because I know, we're here talking like, we're Cohesity, we're AWS, but from the real world, like these things happen, even as simple as thinking, well, somebody else thought it was backed up. It goes back to your point, AJ, on the customers responsible for their data. They have to take that step to make sure it's protected. So
Yep, agreed. That's where the native protection comes into picture as well, right? The machine should have native protection enabled. Like as an example, leave a snapshot could have restored. And the next step is to have backup of the whole data so that there are additional options available like granularity and recover, maybe even file level data. If it is deleted, like files are deleted always, right, all the time.
yeah, and the automation capabilities that you get with these tools where they just know that the system exists and picks it up. So somebody's not left redoing all everything that they worked hard to build, much less impacting their customers. So yeah, well, let's talk about what our customers can be doing from the 3-2-1-1 backup rule perspective. How does that impact modern cloud protection strategies, and how can enterprises and the teams within those enterprises apply that framework or set of rules effectively across their regions and workloads?
The 3-to-1 backup strategy, it's not a new term. It's been always there. And it's a traditional backup strategy where you have to, customers, organizations are advised to have this strategy in terms of having number of copies of their data, which is not a new thing. So 3-to-1 is a traditional backup strategy. And when it comes to cloud and the modern environments, the new rule is 3-to-1-1, which is a enhanced or advanced version of what we have as traditional backup strategy of 3-to-1. So this adds a critical layer, or additional layer of protection for the modern environments. So three copies of your data. You have your one versional copy and two backup copies, and two backup copies. The next letter in 3-to-1-1, 2, store your backup copies at different places and different media types. And the additional one, the next one is actually keep a offsite backup copy. And even this offsite backup copy is not a new term. It is very well follow traditional backup strategy in an on-premises environment as well, that you have to have your backup copy at a different offsite, which is called as an offsite backup copy. And when it comes to cloud, this can be a backup copy which can be stored in a different region, which is these regions are geographically separated areas, so it can be stored in a different region. And the main thing is the additional one rule that is followed in 3.2.1, and there's additional one that is added. This is to have one backup copy which is completely offline, away from all of your backup copies as well as your original production data, which is unavailable most times, and which is immutable. This copy should be immutable, air gapped. That's where the air gapping comes in, that it is under a different security control, security. It has different security rules, and immutability is write protected and delete protected. So this is the additional one comes into picture. This additional one immutable backup copy provides protection against the ransomware events that specifically not just target the production data or the data that you have in servers associated with the applications, as well as the backup systems. So this also covers any major deletions or corruption that happens, because let's an example, your data is replicated using native replication tools, but there's a corruption that happens on one side. It could cut up multiple copies that you have, or even the backup copies that you have. So these additional backup copy can actually protect you against those kind of events or any bad actors that you have within the organization. As well as, I think now we are seeing a scenario where there are a lot of advanced persistent actors or ability to corrupt the data in the ransomware. It's a very evolving space. So this additional one copy protects the organization's data in that scenario.
Yeah, it's really, I think this is something that I'd like our audience to really think about, because I think some people hear they're like, that's a lot of copies, that's a lot of money. But if you do have a cyber attack or cyber incident, I mean, those types of attacks have been known to put a company out of business. So you have to balance risk versus reward and being able to come back online. I think the other thing is that backups they go after the backups too. So when you mentioned that extra one where you have something backup that's or available offline is immutable, that is worth all of the effort. But it doesn't have to be hard. And we actually have a solution for that. When we get to our, talking through some of the things we do together, company wise, I think there's a nice solution for that, because otherwise, like as an admin, I look at that and I'm like, wow, that just seems like a lot. But I think you can never be prepared enough, because a cyber attack especially can be so different. There's no way to plan besides having many copies of that data. And if they can get your backups, they will too. So that's the immutability is so critical in the air gapping. So I'm glad you brought that up, and I'm glad that you were able to talk that through. So let's talk about our how we're working together. So in terms of Cohesity and AWS specifically, we're working to simplify data management, improve recovery speed, strengthen security for the enterprise, and our customers. So what are some of the things, AJ, that you wanted to talk about with our audience when it comes to this topic?
So as I mentioned, right, I think at AWS, security is job zero, and you are Cohesity as a company. You are in that space to make sure that customers have ability to protect and have a comprehensive cyber resilience solution available for them to protect their data. So we have, and I think Cohesity has built over the years native integrations with core AWS services like Amazon EC2 and Amazon EBS with something like using Amazon EBS Direct APIs, RDS, Amazon S3, Amazon DynamoDB, which allows these native integrations allow customers to easily register and protect their AWS workloads directly within Cohesity. And also over the year, Cohesity has developed comprehensive integration with our Amazon S3 storage service, which provides multiple different storage tiers for the customers to get the flexibility as well as I think address diverse use cases. I'll talk about a bit about diverse use cases. Um, so such as I think S3 storage classes provide uh, different storage classes for the use cases such as archival purpose when customers wants to store their backup copies for the long term at a lower cost, as well as I think if customer wants to recover the data, they are mainly concerned about having the fastest recovery capabilities. They can actually have, use a storage class that can provide that kind of speed, performance and speed for the recovery. So these kind of tighter integrations from Cohesity actually helps customers to achieve backup and recovery with better recovery point objectives and recovery time objectives that you mentioned earlier, tighter RPOs and tighter RTOs. And support, as I mentioned, support for something like S3 Glacier Storage provides customers with a cost-effective long-term backup solution, as well as I think when customers need to have these long copies retained for multiple years for compliance requirements. I think the integrations, the kind of integrations that you built with these storage classes will help. As well as I think customers can take advantage of Cohesity's deduplication and compression features, which will reduce the overall storage footprint as well as storage cost, while they are having multiple copies required. As we just talked about 3211, when customers need to actually have these multiple copies, then the cost becomes a major factor. With the compression and deduplication features that you have built, it'll help customers to store or have multiple copies without needing to spend a lot of without needing to worry about cost as a factor, or to achieve this resiliency, they can actually, as well as they can achieve the resiliency and keep the cost low.
Yeah, that's a really outstanding summary. And I think the other thing I would add to that is we do have the immutability. We call it data lock. So on any of the workloads that we can protect on the AWS side, you can leverage the immutability regardless of where you're protecting that data. It could be on-prem, edge, cloud. And we also have an as a service offering as well, where you can protect those AWS workloads, and you can leverage an AWS data plane with that. Back to the 3211, the extra one. We also have our Cohesity Fort Knox solution, which also you can take advantage of AWS data plane on that as well. And that actually allows for call it a virtual air gap, immutable, like you have no choice. It has to be immutable. And we have quorum capabilities. So like you can limit who does a restore. You need multiple approvers to do a restore. So there's a lot of extra advantages that way. And then recently we also announced we have a strategic collaboration agreement now with AWS to advance the whole AI-powered cyber resilience at scale opportunities for enterprises. And this is going to, obviously, this will evolve It is actually an agreement between our CEOs, which I think makes it extra special. But ultimately, the goal here is secure by design, scalable global infrastructure, and powerful AI capabilities in general, but also will leverage what AWS is offering in those with those capabilities. So we're doing a lot. This is a strong partnership and a lot of opportunity. All right, so I think it's time to probably wrap up for today. This has been just an outstanding conversation, a wealth of knowledge you shared, AJ. So I wanted to thank you so much for joining me to talk with our audience today.
Thank you, Theresa and Cohesity, for the opportunity. And it is great to discuss the topic of cyber resiliency, which is becoming key for the organizations across industries. And also, congratulations on the newly signed SCA.
Yeah. And I also wanted to thank our audience. And that wraps up another episode of Spotlight on Security Tech Insights.